Throughout the history of Disney's animated features, there have been several memorable villains who've left an impact with their scheming and attempts to prevent the heroes from making their dreams come true. Sometimes they're even the most memorable part of the film, and even when we hate them, there's a fascination with the animators and voice actors also having fun who bring them to life in all their wicked ways. And I'm going to count down the ones that have stood out to me the most, starting with Gaston in Beauty and the Beast. Most Disney villains, including many of the others on this list, are usually feared by everyone else as they go about their diabolical ways. However, Gaston stands out as he's beloved by most of the townsfolk who are won over by his charms. Well, except for Belle, of course, and that drives his desire to make sure she marries him. He's already a creep and misogynist to her at the beginning of the film, but we see his monstrous side emerge more and more as the story plays on. He even works up the entire town into a frenzy to kill the beast through fear-mongering and misinformation, something that is very much relevant to how a lot of horrible people gain power and support. Richard White gave the right pompous voice to Gaston, while Alan Menken and Howard Ashman wrote a fun bar song, which eventually evolves into something more sinister as he plots to force Belle to marry him. While the Beast learns to find his romantic side, Gaston never improves. Riggan in The Great Mouse Detective. A cunning villain, Riggan presents a worthy foe for the mystery-solving Basil of Baker Street, and delights in his plan to overthrow the Mouse Queen. The running bit of him hating being called a rat is used to great effect, and he's definitely someone no mouse or bat would want to cross and get on his bad side. The way his muscular build allows him to tower over the other mice adds a particular menace to him. The casting of Vincent Price was incredibly inspired, and his unique delivery lent Riggan a certain amount of sophistication. Price always had an incredible screen presence, and his performance here showed he could bring that to an animated role as well. Glenn Keane's animation also deserves credit for making a truly entertaining and at times vicious villain. The final confrontation on Big Ben, when he finally shows his most monstrous form, proved that while he may see himself as a sophisticated, albeit evil gentleman, it's all ugly and horrible underneath. Yzma in The Emperor's New Groove. There have been a number of comedic Disney villains, and I think the funniest of the lot might be Yzma. Her frustration at Kuzco's behavior leads to numerous funny moments, along with the hijinks she and her henchman Kronk get into. Despite how zany and lighthearted the movie is, and how much it revolves around an emperor who's been transformed into a llama, Yzma's plan is quite dark. She plots to murder someone she has raised since he was a baby and take over the throne. Throughout the film, she is constantly talking about how to kill him, so the filmmakers deserve credit for how they handle that within the comedic tone of the film. Eartha Kitt is wonderful in the role, giving the right line readings and displaying Yzma's hatred for Kuzco and annoyance at things going wrong. And Dale Bear's animation gives so much life to this wrinkly woman scary beyond all reason. Even her deleted song, Snuff Out the Light, from an earlier version of the movie, is a lot of fun. You're going to laugh a lot during this movie, and Yzma is certainly responsible for many of those hilarious bits. Dr. Facilier in The Princess and the Frog. A witch doctor with underworld connections, Facilier is a villain with a lot of style, which is necessary when so much of his villainy comes from coercing others to accept his offers. His conning of Prince Naveen is done with a lot of energy, and he's someone with plenty of tricks up his sleeve. Keith David's voice was a perfect fit for a Disney villain, especially this one, while animator Bruce W. Smith took a lot of cues from Cap Calloway the way he danced and moved through his scenes. Meanwhile, Randy Newman wrote a fantastic song for him titled Friends of the Other Side, and Facilier performs a particularly cruel action when he steps on Ray the Firefly. However, he's not without his fears, and he seems to be aware who is really in control. Even with that, he commands the screen, made even better by the way the animators play with the shadows that surround him. Maleficent in Sleeping Beauty. One of the pettiest villains in Disney animation history, I love that Maleficent's whole deal is being upset that she was not invited to a baby shower. This one slight is enough for her to curse that baby, and she holds onto that grudge forever. However, you also understand the fear she instills in many in the kingdom, and the importance of making sure Aurora does not prick her finger on the spinning wheel. She succeeds in making that happen and continues to taunt the fairies and the prince about it. She is so unapologetically evil, with Eleanor Audley's voice work finding the right cackling anger. And then there's that amazing moment when she turns into a dragon, resulting in one of Disney's most exciting climaxes. Mark Davis's animation is an integral part too, with a terrific design and the great way Davis uses flames to showcase her power. Again, this is not a villain who is necessarily looking to take over the kingdom, though that's certainly a bonus for her. She just hates not being included in the festivities, and I find that a genuinely fascinating motivation. Frollo in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Most of the villains I've included on this list so far are ones I've found a lot of fun. There's nothing fun about Frollo, but part of why I included him on this list is how realistic he is, and that adds so much to why we hate him. The filmmakers did research on actual genocidal monsters when they developed their version of the character from Victor Hugo's book, and that comes across in his prejudice for the Romani people and anyone he deems inferior. The way he treats Quasimodo is horrible, as is the way he views Esmeralda, lusting after her, and at the same time viewing her as a manipulative blasphemer. He's someone who only uses his political power to do things that don't benefit anyone, only his close-minded view of the world. Tony Jay's vocal performance adds to Frollo's menace, and he especially goes all out in performing his signature song number, Hellfire. The Hunchback of Notre Dame is often considered one of Disney's darkest animated films, and a lot of that can be attributed to Frollo, someone who has no problem with burning down Paris for his own bigoted reasons. Cruella de Vil in 101 Dalmatians. With Cruella, we get one of the cruelest Disney villains. Her evil plot is to kill puppies, just so she can wear a Dalmatian fur coat. And when she doesn't get what she wants, she proceeds to hire 2 burglars to steal them. There's no question she is a truly horrible person, only interested in stuffing her closet for what she thinks will look trendy. She never flinches at the prospect of these dogs being killed under her command. Mark Davis animates her with a flair for showing off and flinging her cigarette everywhere, and then takes her desperation to extreme levels when she sees the Dalmatians escaping her clutches. Betty Lou Gerson voiced over a certain flamboyant quality in the early scenes and then digs into her demented side as her thirst for Dalmatian fur heightens. Watching her, I definitely think to myself that she should chill, but she's nonetheless equally entertaining and horrifying. Lady Tremaine in Cinderella. Being a story that's been told several times, there have been many versions of the evil stepmother. She is primarily depicted as cruel and abusive towards Cinderella, and she attempts to knock any happiness she may still have. In my opinion, Tremaine is maybe the most frightening version, and she gets that from mostly her glare. When she gives that look, it's incredibly troubling, and you fear for Cinderella's safety. While her daughters are evil in an over-the-top manner, Tremaine takes a different approach in how she torments Cinderella for her manipulation. Eleanor Audley's voice work also deserves a mention for the way she makes those insults feel that much sharper. There are several scenes when it seems Cindy is about to find happiness, and then Tremaine tears that down. She is so hateful and horrible, and she does that largely through ordinary abusive actions, which makes her all the more infuriating. Ursula in The Little Mermaid. Disney villains are known for their theatricality, and Ursula is definitely up there, especially as she manipulates Ariel to give her voice in exchange for legs. She is shown stopping at nothing to take control of Atlantica and take revenge on King Trine, and she enjoys using Ariel's desire to see the surface to accomplish her goal. The idea to give her octopus tentacles makes her stand out more, as well as the decision to base her design on divine. Pat Carroll gives her one of the most iconic laughs in Disney villain history, and her big number, Poor Unfortunate Souls, is one of the best written for one of the studio's baddies. That Ursula is always watching Ariel, making sure she never kisses the prince, as to how threatening she is. She then takes it up a further notch by using Ariel's voice to hypnotize Eric. The climax, where she grows to a massive size, is also brilliant. From the moment Ursula makes her entrance, she is immediately entertaining. Now, before I reveal my number 1 pick, I want to bring up some honorable mentions, because there are so many great Disney villains, and it was really hard to narrow it down to 10. Ones I would have loved to include but didn't quite make my top 10 were Captain Hook in Peter Pan, the Coachman in Pinocchio, Jafar in Aladdin, Shere Khan in The Jungle Book, the Evil Queen in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Mother Gothel in Tangled, King Candy Turbo in Wreck-It Ralph, McLeach in The Rescuers Down Under, and Man in Bambi. And my number 1 Disney animated villain is Scar in The Lion King. I've mentioned a lot of evil villains on this list, but the actions taken by Scar in his quest to take the throne put him at the top for me. He is someone who has no problem with killing his brother in order to attain that power, and then he tricks his own nephew Simba into thinking he's at fault and tells the hyenas to go after him. Then when Scar takes over the Pride Lands, he destroys it by scaring away the animals and forcing the lionesses to do everything even though there's nothing left. He wanted that power, but it really came out of a desire to boss everyone around without any understanding of the responsibilities of the job. While Simba had to learn what it means to be a leader, Scar learns nothing at all and just sees it as a cushy way to get everything he wants. The hold he has over the hyenas is also fascinating to watch, as he gives them empty promises and pretends to care about them when they're really more a means to an end. Jeremy Irons gave a phenomenal vocal performance showing what a slimy lion he is and always having a cruel and vicious response to anyone. And Dres Deja's animation was also key to his memorability, as was his big song number, Be Prepared. Scar is evil in every way, and that makes it all the more satisfying when Simba comes back to defeat him. And even then, he's still playing with Simba's head and the misplaced guilt he has over Mufasa's death. Scar fills the role of being an incredibly entertaining villain the viewer also despises for his actions. Now let me know in the comments who your favorite Disney animated villains are, and I'll see you next time.